Come, O God, within our hearts, within our souls. Come, O God, with healing power renew us. Come, O Lord of peace, open our hearts, renew us. Come, O Lord of hope, come in love and make us whole once more. Come, O love, renew our lives and guide our minds. Come, O love, in power revive your people. Come, O Lord of peace, open our hearts, renew us. Come, O Lord of hope, come in love and make us whole once more. Come, O light, and lead us on the road with you. Come, O light, dispel our deepest darkness. Come, O Lord of peace, open our hearts, renew us. Come, O Lord of hope, come in love and make us whole once more.
Hello. In Matthew Kelly's book, Life is Messy, he makes reference to St. John of the Cross. And since we are the merged parish of what was Sacred Heart and St. John of the Cross, allow me just a moment to tell you briefly a little bit about who St. John of the Cross was. He was a Carmelite priest living in Spain in the 1500s. And he, together with St. Teresa of Avila, were co-founders of what now is known as the Discalced Carmelites. Discalced means shoeless. In the monasteries, they would go about barefoot. St. John of the Cross was not well received by his fellow religious. They saw him as a threat. They thought he was too severe. They thought that he would hurt the future of the community by discouraging new and fresh vocations. So at one point they actually imprisoned him, locked him up in a very small cell in one of their monasteries. There was no window in his cell, a very thin slit in the wall, that for a short time each day, by standing on a stool, he could have enough light to read his prayers. So he suffered under those conditions for many months, but eventually he escaped, and he went on to be accepted and to renew the Carmelite religious family. During his time being locked up in that cell, he went through and wrote about what we now refer to as a dark night of the soul. Many of us, if not all of us, at one time or another, experienced that darkness, if you will. Jesus did, even though he's the Son of God. When he hung on the cross, as we read in the Bible, he prayed, "Father, why have you abandoned me?" There are moments in life when most everyone goes through that kind of darkness. They feel abandoned by God, by everyone. and it's a very painful place and time to be. But John of the Cross wrote about that and then described how in that darkness, when all was stripped away, he found who he was and God's love for him. And he had an intense mystical experience of God's love for him. St. John of the Cross was not only a great mystic, but also a great poet. And he put his experience into words in a poem. I'm not going to read the whole poem for you, but just the opening few verses. St. John of the Cross wrote, "One dark night, fired with love's urgent longings, all the sheer grace, I went out unseen, my house being now all stilled." So what he's referring there is to the dark night that he was going through, feeling abandoned, and his house being all stilled refers to his mind. You know, the experience we sometimes have of being so tired and needing and wanting to get to sleep, but we simply can't shut our brain down. It's churning away. We're thinking about whatever the pressure or concerns might be. We want so much to get rid of them so we can close our eyes and go to sleep. Well, that dark night of the soul purged away everything from him, and he found and experienced God in himself. So there are three questions I would present and leave with you. First of all, was I ever, or am I now presently, in a dark night? Second question, if so, who or what put me in my dark night, where I feel totally abandoned? And then the third question, how can I exit this darkness and come into the light? People like St. John of the Cross, by his many writings that he left us, can show us the way. Our faith, if we hold on to it, can bring us through that darkness. Again, it's not a pleasant place or time to be. It was not easy for Jesus, certainly, when he hung on the cross, again, feeling so abandoned. But remember, after the cross came new life and resurrection. For St. John of the Cross, when he exited his dark night of the soul, he experienced new life, both for himself and for the church. What about you and me? Is Jesus wanting to enter more deeply into our mind, our heart, and soul, to meet us in our own personal darkness and lead us into the light?